better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way.
I did want to come back to, I don't know if you had something there. That's where I was going to go. I wanted to come back to Warubi and kind of focus a little bit on that for a little bit.
That's where I was going. Just telepathic here.
So, I mean, for those who don't know, can you give us a little bit of a background on what Warubi is, what it does, what it aims to be?
Yeah. So it started in 2017. Herbert and I, we worked for Athletes USA doing the scholarship thing, and then wanted to do something more, our own project. And we actually started with, we wanted to do soccer camps in America, all over America, because on paper it looked really profitable and really nice and really good and like a cool thing, right?
You said on paper.
On paper, exactly. And then we started it, and it was actually cool. Like we had cool experience. We did a coaching course with the DFB, right? So with the German Soccer Federation. So, and you met like really cool people. Alex Nouri was there, who was a coach at the first league for Werder Bremen, for example. And the assistant coach of the national team came, and yeah, so it was like a really cool thing.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of work, and it just was from a business perspective. Unfortunately, you can't just live from the sun and the air, and so it didn't make much sense in terms of that. And we kind of came up with other ideas along the way. Then something came up in Dresden, where we sent players to play there, like American players coming to Germany, playing for a German academy over there, living right next to the soccer field, and we took care of like the either online school or the international school or language school. So they train every day, and then also food and all, like everything that's just important for it. So that was one project that we started. And same thing with the coaching courses, right? So the coaching course you visited with the UEFA B license that we do here in Germany, we also started in 2020, just before COVID started actually. And that was like that was a really cool thing. We felt it straight away that could be something like really, really cool to bring together coaches from all over the world and giving them the opportunity to learn about the German culture and getting their UEFA B license, which means they have, when they go back to their countries, maybe an advantage also to pursue their dreams, but also help players again. Like, right, you teach coaches from all over the world, and I hope we teach them like the good values of Germany and with the Thuringian Association together, and hopefully make them better coaches. And with that, you actually help a lot of people, and sometimes you don't realize it, because then they go home and maybe their coaching and their training becomes more fun, and the players become better because they're able to help them a little bit more. So overall, it's again like a win-win situation for everybody. And so then COVID happened, and we had to have a break for a certain while. And in the end of 2021, we had another course. And since 2022, I think we have 3 courses per year, which is pretty cool. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great network that was built so far. And you guys have been there. I mean, there are coaches from all over the world. Of course, here from Europe, we have from Portugal, we had from England. From Croatia, from Russia, we had from Australia and India and I don't know, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, South Africa, Ghana, Brazil, Argentina, America, Canada. So like all over the place, and it just creates this group dynamic that's incredible, because it unites all people that are thinking only about soccer. Like everybody is there to learn about the game. But everybody is also open-minded, because of course you have to be open-minded when you come to such a course, because you know there are people from all over the place, and you come to a place in Germany and do it, and that's a pretty cool project for us. And now we also work with FC Cologne for the international academy, and we provide them with players from America, and also take care of their housing and food and all of that, and everything that kind of goes around it, the organizational stuff, and also try to help them to become the best version of themselves, right? And it's always like I think every project we do is about like helping people and making them better, or giving them maybe also and more pathways to choose from, maybe. And always cool to see when someone succeeds. We have just now we had the coaching course with Union Berlin, and we had another coach that was with us. We sent him to America. He did the UEFA B license with us, and now he's going to Bayern Munich. Right? It's a cool story, and he sends us a message and calls me and says, "Hey man, thank you so much, and like without you guys it wouldn't have happened." And sometimes you don't realize it. Like I don't think that it's him, right? It's not us that did it for him. Like he did it, but just so cool to see that he gives us also like a certain credit for it. And even if we help just 1% with it, like I'm really happy that we took just like a tiny part of it, that we were able to help them with their pathway.
Yeah. It sounds like the coaching course too is like a real passion project for you guys, because of that thread, if you pull it, you're really affecting a ton of people through it, because you can help the coach.
There's a big trickle down for sure.
So the coaches meeting other coaches, but then they go back to their players and they might coach 100 players. Yeah. Those 100 players might have siblings, or then they might have family, and then it keeps going, which is pretty amazing that through this course, which bringing people together, which we can attest to, was awesome too, just for 2 weeks to focus just on football, coaching and also playing, and 3 meals a day eating with each other and talking about it. I mean, it's nonstop, and I think, if you go to one of these courses, that's like, this is heaven, right? Everyone is there for the same reason. You all love football, and you're talking about coaching or a session or playing or just talking about football in general. I think it's great. And then what we got from it was, amazing. Yeah.
And you also talk about life at some point.
Of course.
So it's just interesting to hear all these different stories, because we have German coaches there too, because obviously we have to. It's it's in the curriculum, or like one of the rules the DFB gives us, that half the coaches, they have to be like German, and then to bring all these cultures together. And obviously the people from the outside, they also want to meet Germans, because when they're in Germany, it's so it's a cool thing, bringing everybody together, for the Germans also speaking English and refreshing their English, and then also for them. Then we come back to making your own path, and some people just stay here all the time, right? And we had coaches that stayed here their entire life, and then they go to a course, and then they all of a sudden see how things work in different countries, and you have no idea. You have no idea how it works in different countries, right? Like, how could you know how it works in America if you've never been there? And then all of a sudden they hear, you can actually coach 3 different teams and make a living with it in a level that's not professional. It's not professional.
You don't have that.
Like, how is that possible? Like over here, you coach a team, and if they give you a gas card, that's already a good thing, right? Like mostly it's like for nothing, right? And kids over here, they don't have to pay, like, so parents don't have to pay for soccer, like 100 euros per year, and then everything is included with the jersey and everything, right? And in America, it's a whole different story. And it's completely different in Australia, and it's also completely different in Africa. When we had a coach from Ghana, they don't even play on a grass field or something like this, right? They don't have a setup where nobody comes on time there, because it's just, we cannot understand it. It's not, because we just know it differently. But they know just how it works in their country. And then for us, it's again, I always say this in the course too, like, we don't know everything, right? And it would be great if everybody takes away something, right? But it's up to each and every one, like, what they take with them. If it's just a session plan, if it's just like some certain techniques, if it's being on time, if it's, I don't know, the discipline, or whatever it is you take away from that course tactically. Like, there are so many things we cover, right? And maybe there are things that people say, okay, I don't agree with it. Totally fine. You can't. Like, Klopp plays a complete different soccer than Guardiola, and they play a complete different soccer to Mourinho, and they also don't agree with each other, and they are world-class coaches, right? So there are so many different ways, so you don't have to agree with everything. And you also, from a perspective, when you're the ones that trying to teach others, you have to come to the understanding that you're also not always right. And even we can learn in every single course, and with every single coach that is there has knowledge that I don't have, or the other instructors don't have. And it just creates this great dynamic and overall knowledge that comes together. And it's very enjoyable,
like you said, every coach kind of has its own philosophy, has its own way of doing things, tactics. But for you, kind of having your foot both in America and Germany and seeing this wealth of knowledge, seeing so many different coaches, what do you feel like are the key attributes that every coach needs to have?
Yeah. Discipline, for sure. Being there for the team. I think you have to be there for the team. You have to take care of the players. Consistency, as always in life, right? Consistency is so important. So these are like the values, I think, or the things that are non-negotiable. You can be a very, very good coach and know tactically everything. But as a human, if you don't function, if you don't understand the players at all, then it's going to be tough for you to create a good environment and make your players better, right? Mm-hmm. And then we go into more details about okay, what do you think tactically and so on. But if you want your players to become better, they have to train, right? And they have to be disciplined, and you have to be the role model for it.
Yeah.
So you have to try to show them how it works, and it's always tough. Like you see on a professional level, even coaches that smoke, for example, right? For me, it's a tough one, right? Because when I'm the coach, I'm a role model, at least like on the pitch for everything, right? And if I'm standing there with a cigarette or with a beer, I don't think it's the right thing to show them. So I like to show them the overall picture and what life is about. That's for me important. Again, people can disagree with it, and I think what's his name, Sari, or the
Sari,
coach,
Sari Ball.
Probably, I'm sorry, you're a better coach than me, 100%.
For sure, watching.
There's levels to if you would believe Carlo Ancelotti the same too.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, just be a role model, be there for the players, and just make sure that they put in the work and they believe in you. And I think this is what you see with Klopp, for example. Unfortunately, he never coached me, but I think it's an amazing experience because people kind of die for him.
Exactly.
You know? He makes them follow him because I would say they feel that he's authentic with everything.
Right.
And so don't play a role. Like people will notice that if you play something. Like
you mentioned that at the coaching course. You and a few of the other instructors mentioned that, kind of being your authentic self when you're coaching. Because as players, I've had coaches who try and put on this face, this facade sometimes to be like this tough, hard-nosed coach. And it just doesn't come off authentic. It doesn't come off believable. And I think you can kind of maybe lose the locker room at times.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool thing to kind of preach on to coaches, is that you have to be comfortable in yourself and what you're saying, because players can sniff you out from a mile away.
Yeah, and it also depends on what level you coach. I mean, there's big differences if you coach in an amateur level and in a professional level, right? You have to take care of so many more things in a professional level. You have to see so many more things over there. For example, when I was at Hofstra, right, with Richie, when I was there, sometimes I was like, oh, he's not doing anything and stuff like that. But I only understood afterwards what he was actually doing, and that was actually pretty smart and good. He managed everything, right? And in England, you call them not coach, you call them manager, right?
Right.
And yeah, you just have to see the whole picture. And as a good coach, I think in the professional level, you have to have a good team around you. It's unnegotiable anymore. Right. Back in the day, maybe it was possible to do it by yourself, but nowadays you need video analysts, you need assistant coaches, you need so many things over there, and then you have to be able to create this entire atmosphere. And from the outside, it looks like Carlo Ancelotti is the best of doing it, right? And Guardiola also. Whereas in an amateur level, sometimes you don't even have if you're under 8 coach, you sometimes don't even have an assistant coach. You have to do it all by yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a complete different story at the end of the day. But yeah, just creating this culture within the team that they follow you and that they believe in you. It's always the same. It's always in any kind of, that doesn't change in any kind of level. They have to believe you in a certain sense, always.
How do you feel about because you're working with a lot of American coaches and coming from a German background,
Yeah.
what would you say are some of maybe the advantages and disadvantages that
Yeah.
maybe they bring into these sessions that you kind of notice?
Yeah. What I like about the Americans is usually the energy they bring with them. They're usually a bit louder, not in the sense that they scream and be like in the military or something like this, but they have this energy with them and this belief, right? Americans usually have a 100% belief, even if they're wrong, but they sell it to you 100%, right? Whereas we Germans, we are very realistic. So we undersell us a lot of times. And it was the same with me playing. Like when I came over to America, I was very realistic about myself, right? I knew I wasn't good enough to go to the first league, right? And I think if there would have been an American just as good as me, same as me, he would have thought I will go to the first league, right? And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? I would have maybe needed a bit more belief, and he would have maybe needed a bit more
humbling
and being realistic, and then you find the perfect balance, and that's the same for the coaching. Sometimes I wish the German coaches also have a bit more belief in themselves and a bit more, being a bit more comfortable and stuff. Even though they are, right? But it's just like those are like the main differences I see, and then obviously the knowledge sometimes. But the knowledge is different from coach to coach, because I think overall the knowledge over here is more than in America, just because over here for us it's like almost a religion. You grow up with the game, like everybody knows about it. So even if you have an under-8s coach over here that's a dad of someone, he still knows more than the average American just because it's on TV all the time, right? And you maybe played it in your youth, right? And you had usually some coaches that knew something about the game. It's the same over here, American football. Nobody knows anything, and the average American knows so much more about the game than we do. So that's normal. But then on the peak side of it, you also have amazing American coaches, 100%. Right, because they also spend a lot of hours to become better, and then again the Americans usually believe they can strive even higher, and that's why they sometimes also go a bit higher. And at some point, when you get to those kind of levels, you usually adjust too, because you learn so much more along the way. And it's always very interesting to see the differences between the cultures. But at the end of the day, it always comes down to what we talked about before, the discipline and all of that, that makes someone either successful or not successful.
Oh.
Do you feel like that kind of extends into the youth? Because we kind of talked on, you have a lot more involvement in bringing American players into kind of the youth systems as well. Do you feel like those same advantages and disadvantages extend to younger players?
You mean like just from like the player point of view?
Yeah, in terms of, maybe how they look at it. So obviously I think if you're coming from America, maybe you don't have the same tactical knowledge, awareness, game awareness, but you have your athleticism, you have different things that could be advantages. You have the American optimism that people talk about.
Yeah. I mean, we deal with a lot of American players too that come here, and it's not always easy, because again they come from America. It's completely different. They haven't seen what's going on over here. They don't know the system, and it's not their fault. It's normal.
You don't know,
right?
until you're here.
And you guys know it very well. And it's not so easy to come here and play even in the 5th league, right? For me as a German, playing in the 5th league is like, okay, it's a hobby, right? For you as an American, it's almost a professional level. Like you don't just walk in here. You have to have played on a very good level in America. You have to be. You definitely should have been playing in Division 1 level, right? Or, I mean, it is Division 2 also, but like top, always in the top.
Hey, we were Division 3.
It's the same thing, right? But you
Depends
had to be
player by player.
But you had to be like the top, top of D3, right? And you could have played D1, obviously, right? Just your story, your pathway led you to D3, but just like soccer-wise, you would have been able to play D1. And then it's still not easy to walk into an Oberliga team over here, because you're a foreigner. So then you have Americans coming over here being 16, 17 years old, playing for an academy, and then think straight away they can go to under 19 Bundesliga or then to third Bundesliga, where you say, okay, you maybe have 7th league or 6th league level, right? The gap is too big. Like it's literally not possible. And then sometimes it's hard to be realistic with them, being fair with them, but also not killing their dream. And it's always hard to balance. At the end of the day, you want to help everybody as much as possible, and you try to teach them as much as possible. But yeah, sometimes it's really hard to make everybody understand what's actually going on and how it works.
Over the years of helping players, what have you found has helped them the most in terms of giving them the reality, but also not just crushing them?
Yeah, discipline again. Just working hard and just looking what kind of outcome comes along. Don't focus too much on the goal, like
the league or what team you make it
to. Enjoy this pathway too, right? That's also what we forget so often, that we have a certain goal in life. It could be in soccer. Okay, I want to become a first league player, right? And until then, you're in the tunnel without enjoying all the steps in between too, right? And it's the same in life. You have a certain goal in life. You want to get this job, or you want to, I don't know, like, let's say money, for example, because it's a very easy example. Like you say to yourself, okay, I want to become a millionaire, right? And then you work and work and work and work all the time. And then you say, okay, by the age of 40, I want to be a millionaire. So, and then with 40, you become a millionaire. You reached your goal, right? So, but what's then? Like, okay, I achieved my goal and now? And then you maybe look back and say, oh, what the fuck did I do the last 20 years? All I did was focusing on this goal. Now I'm here and I maybe don't even know what to do right now, right?
Or you never make it, and then you're miserable because you didn't make it.
So enjoy this pathway to it. It's not about the goal. It's always about the pathway, because we have everybody has this pathway, and we all walk along this pathway and enjoy the view. When you climb up the mountain, you have to enjoy the view until you're up the mountain. Also, like along the way, right? And maybe you don't reach the mountain because of the weather was shit on that day.
Or you realize you don't want to go to the top.
Or you realize you don't want to go there. Yeah. It's too hard, or you don't. It's too risky to go up there too. It could be. But
what's the other motto?
Have a direction, not an end point. It's Footwork original.
Yeah. People have heard, a lot of podcasts have heard us bring that up a lot. But it ties directly into that, because you have these goals. Like, I remember as a kid, it was like, I want to be on Manchester United. And at some point, my American optimism was shut down by realistic thoughts. But you have to always readjust. So your goals kind of bring it into these short-term goals to create long-term success or long-term happiness. Obviously, I would have loved to maybe make it to a higher level in Germany. But making it to the Regionalliga and having the steps along the way have helped me to kind of really appreciate my path. I've had to think about it a little different sometimes in terms of how I make goals. So my goals are constantly changing, but I'm not attaching myself if I don't get there. Yeah. I had a goal to get to the third Bundesliga. And I felt I was putting in the work to get there, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Football is a game of opinions. There's a million different reasons. Maybe I wasn't good enough. So I have to readjust that again, and then also be happy with where I am playing in the Regionalliga. A lot of American players weren't able to get to that level. And I think it ties into that, and as well with you kind of having the goal to be first Bundesliga, but that mountain didn't seem like it could be climbed, or maybe, then you go to a different route. You open this door, now you have college. Look at what that provided for you. Australia, and now you've created this company that is inherently yours, providing win-win situations for so many that trickles down. And it just goes to show you that if you were so attached to this one goal and the success of that one goal, this goal, which inherently may have been the right one for you the entire time, may have never been possible.
100% agree. And I think, so for me, like, I know it's like everybody has his own pathway, right? But I also never want to forget that, and nobody should forget that it's not possible to do it by yourself. 100% not. Like, there's no chance in the world I would have done it myself. And like, I mean it 100%, right? Without like Herbert in this case, company-wise, no chance I would have done it myself. No chance. Without my parents, without the people along the way, without the coaches I met, like they all gave me so much, so many things, helped me in so many ways. And it's also not fun to do it yourself. It's always fun to have people.
I don't know where that comes from, that idea, like to go about it all alone.
Yeah, I don't like the idea. Like also now, if I wanna maybe create another company or something like this, or you have some other dreams, wouldn't want to do it myself. I just don't want to. It's always so. I always think of it as like, so you climb this mountain, right, and then you're all the way up there, and then you stand there, and then it's you have this feeling, right, but you want to talk about it, right, so.
You don't have the view to share with someone. Yeah.
So I win the World Cup myself, right? And then I talk to you about it. Right? I say it was an amazing feeling, huh? And then you say, I can imagine, right? But I want to talk to someone that says, "Hey, it is a great feeling. We fucking did it." Like, you remember when we were there, and you remember when we were there, and you remember when we did this, and you remember when we fucked up over there. And when we slept in the car there, and when we had no money, and all of this kind of stuff, you want to have this conversation with someone, right? And there's no necessity to stand there by yourself and do this and say, hey, I'm the guy, I'm the man. It doesn't matter. It's so much better to share it with somebody and say, hey, thanks so much that you came with me along the way, and you believed in me and I believed in you, and you can trust this person at all times. And we should always never forget it. For me, it's always hard to see people when they kind of break up with their parents, for example, right? And maybe some have definitely reasons for it, 100%. But for me, it's very hard to understand it, because we wouldn't be alive without them. There's, without my grandparents, my parents wouldn't be alive. There's no chance I could break with them, because I don't know what they would have to do in order to make me break with them. Because without them, I would not sit here. There's no chance. Couldn't even talk about America or any of this, right? So we definitely should never forget about the people that are with us along the way.
Yeah,
you're right though. It's no fun to win alone, because a lot of the fun and happiness comes from the shared success, the shared failures.
Yeah.
Thinking back on all those things.
That's what I like with you guys too. I mean, you could have driven up here yourself, or you, right? But it's boring. It's boring.
It is
to
boring.
Come up here.
Very boring. It's a boring car ride.
Then you maybe have a cool conversation over here, okay?
Yeah.
And then you go back yourself, and then you sit there and edit the video yourself. And then at the end, it's like, oh, I did a cool job, right?
We say boring.
Yeah. It's so much better to do it with someone else and to share it. Yes, of course, you only get half the profit, but I love to share this profit, 100%.
Yeah, and then if you're thinking about the money too, I also feel maybe in the really short mind term, you're only getting half the profit, but in the long term, you're going to make so much more.
If you're doing it with the right person, you're creating the right
There's no question about that. I don't see how that you could even debate that.
Completely agree, 100%.
Because I also don't think it's like if you have, say, one person has this amount of energy, they can do this much. Two people, it's not double the energy. I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
100%. Because you feed off each other. And in the times where I'm not feeling like it, I have Dylan to lean on, and he can give me something when I need it.
Yeah.
And I think the more people you bring in, the more energy you're going to have together.
You learn from each other. The conversations you have with each other brings along new ideas and stuff that you just wouldn't have by yourself. And again, the energy, the day only has 24 hours and you have only a certain energy level, and you will have bad days. You will have days where you don't want to do anything. And it makes it so much easier when there's someone else and says, hey, mate, you know why we do it for.
Right.
By yourself, it's so much easier to quit too. Because you don't have to.
You're not.
It's only you and you versus you, and you say, "Hey, don't do it," and I can make up my own story. But if you say now you want to quit, it's not just your decision now. You have to have the conversation with them, and vice versa, right? And then maybe you say, "Oh fuck, like I don't want to let them down."
Right.
And it's usually phases, right? And we have those phases. Like sometimes we stop believing, right? And we're like, oh, am I on the right track, or are we on the right track? You know, is this really what we're meant to do and to be?
Right.
And it's normal. I have these days too, 100%.
Right.
But I cannot quit for so many reasons. And then after 1 or 2 days or a week or 2 weeks, whatever, I'm very happy that I didn't quit, obviously, right? Of course, I didn't came close to it, but you have these days, and I think when you're alone, it's so much easier to quit sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you think? Couple of the final questions before?
But we have to talk about your story too, because you asked me about the difference between American and German coaches and American and German players, but you're also experts now from the other side, because you know.
Experts is a strong word, but yes.
You know the Americans even better than I do, and the Germans you also know already on a pretty good level. So, first of all, why did you end up playing D3 and not D1?
I mean, I think different reasons for me.
Yeah, different reasons, but I think
I didn't really have many D1 offers. I think I played for a club that maybe didn't have like club football that didn't have the outreach to good colleges or maybe the connections. I was also, I mean, I'm a small player, but I was even smaller. And I think in America, that was the first thing.
Yeah.
Like they didn't necessarily see the vision or some of the things that I could do. They saw, oh, he won't be able to adapt to the physicality of this game.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a crazy sentiment given the players, even around that were then. But for me, it was like, okay, this is a place where, and even then the coach thought, oh, I don't know how you'll adapt physically, even at D3. So there was always a little bit of doubt for my game in that terms. So I went there and didn't really think about playing pro going there, because it was kind of like, oh, I'm going D3, I'll enjoy playing, it's a good school, good team, like they made the Final Four the year before, and I'll just enjoy it. And then as the years went on and I was playing every game and I could see I was getting better and I could see that I was better than most players, I was like, I'm getting better each year. I got to see where this can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it was, so actually Hofstra could have been a possibility to pursue.
Could have played together.
Could have. When was your last year?
I graduated 2014.
Yes, for sure. We would have played together.
First 2 years, right?
First 2 years. But he wasn't, I mean, Richie's thing was not giving usually scholarships to younger players, so freshmen, sophomores, and junior, senior, you could get the money. And yes, $60,000 a year is not going to happen.
I got all the money.
You got all the money. This guy took all the money, Chris.
Yeah, and a state school is like,
so a state school is much cheaper, and they made the Final Four the year before.
Nice grass pitch.
They had their perks, and I thought, okay, maybe I can go there. I'd play. Whereas if I go to Hofstra as an example and sit on the bench, then I had a great freshman year, and then there definitely was opportunities that I could have pursued to go to Division I through friends. But then the question was, okay, do I leave? I just had a great season here, played every game, got Rookie of the Year, I'm doing well. Does it make sense now to leave to go somewhere else? Looking back, I don't know what the right decision would have been, but I chose obviously not to. I felt we had a great team, and we played Division I teams in the spring, and we were just better. So I thought, okay.
We beat Albany, we beat Binghamton, so it felt like we were D1.
Maybe Division I isn't as great as I thought it was, because we just played them, and we were definitely better. And we just stayed. And I think in the end it was great. I mean, we did fairly well. Here we are. And I also, you mentioned the thing about the Oberliga too. I think it's also how you have to appreciate the journey as you come along. Because when I first came to Germany in 2018, the Oberliga team I was on, that was the best level I played at. So I was in Mongolia before that, then obviously in the US.
Yeah.
There was a number of players, the best players I played with, and the team overall was by far the best team, mind you. And it was definitely, okay, every day in training you have to focus. Now, 6 years later, we both help a team basically get out of relegation and stay in the league. In an Oberliga, same league, but now it's much easier for us, or we have a lot more responsibility to like, okay, we have to help this team win. So then you go to say, okay, over 6.5 years for me, I've not only become a better player, but also appreciate, look, I started here, kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, and this is the best level, and now I'm at that same level, and okay, this is maybe a little bit under me now, I feel like I'm better than this level, but I can now take a responsibility to take a team that has no points and keep them in the league somehow, and then doing that. So now it's like I can look back and say, hey, look at where we started, because we were on an Oberliga team also together, but it was different at that time, and now look where we are. That's nice to look back and say, look at it, it's kind of funny to think about that. So when he was getting paid pizza money to play for an Oberliga team.
Yeah. But it's cool though, because after this time, you're almost kind of seen in this way, you're almost seen as like a German. Like no one would really bring in an American to help in a relegation battle a lot of the times because they would think, oh, what do they know about it?
Yeah.
But it's it's flipped where you've learned so much and then still what I felt we've done really well is still kept a lot of the things that have made us stand out. So we talked about on camera too, like to be an American in Germany, I don't know how it's quite similar in other countries, I don't know as well. You have to being as good as a lot of the other players isn't good enough most of the times to get the contract, to have the foreigner spot, to deal with all the headaches that maybe a visa or some things deal with. You either have to, like you said, you have to show something that's completely different. And I think that's something that Sean and I have been able to keep all those years, along with kind of learning. I mean, tactically, I think my game has improved a crazy amount in terms of understanding, both when I see it and both when I play. And also kind of hanging on to the things that I think make us different from German players.
Unique, exactly.
Unique. The athleticism, the fitness, the will.
The mentality, I think, actually
is a huge one.
One of the biggest things. And even in the Regionalliga, I think sometimes you can miss that, where it's like every time we're on the pitch, I fully believe we're going to win. Now, it could be like blind confidence, even with the team I'm with. But I don't see why you would go into a game saying, we're going to lose that 100%. Even if it's Bayern Munich, there is a chance you can win. There a few things have to happen, and you have to pack the box and just park the bus and hope something happens. But you can win. And for me, particularly this past team, that was like, okay, this team is good enough. You have good players, but their mentality is shot right now. For whatever happened before I came, that was the problem. It's my job to change that. Of course, play good football and help on the pitch, but also the mentality is just wrong. And get them to believe, okay, we are good enough. What happened in the first 15 games was just a weird thing, too many young players, whatever it is. But we can change that. And then I did it, and then left in the winter, and I came back, and they were in the same place again. And it was like, no, guys, same situation. I don't know what happened this preseason, but we're back. You guys are back to where you were. Same thing. We're going to go on the field, and we're going to win the game because we're better. And if we all just bring that mentality, we're going to win. I promise you. Just follow me, basically. And then it happens. And now it was cool because there's a lot of U19 players. So like for you, when you made the jump from U19 to men's, was there a big adjustment period for you? Like this is completely different or much more difficult than U19s?
Yeah, of course. We played in the under-19 Bundesliga, first of all. So then you play against all the big teams, right? And from the Bundesliga. So you go to Wolfsburg, Hamburg, Hertha, Berlin, and Bremen, and everybody. So it's like a cool thing, right? So then you go to the Oberliga, right? And you play against teams that you've never heard about, right? Against like some, I don't want to say village, but small towns, right? And you go there, and then you think, okay, like, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to play against Bremen and everybody, right? Not against those teams. But then you actually realize they're not that bad because they all played where you played before too. Not all of them, but some of them. You always have some good players, and then they're older, more mature, and just more clever. Right. So you as a young player, you come up and you do all these things. And an older player is like, maybe I don't need to do this run because if I stand here, I get the ball anyway. So I save my energy. And then if I use my body in this way and I use my talking in this way too, I can overcome a few other things. Right. And so it was much more mature, less mistakes. And this was like the biggest adjustment. But we did pretty well in our first men's year. We were the second team in the like the under 23s. So we always had a few players from the first team coming down, and I trained with the first team sometimes. And going up there was also, it's different nowadays, I think. But when you came up there as a young player, you had nothing to say, absolutely nothing. You had to carry the goals, you had to get the balls. They shouted at you, they kicked you, and you had, if you said something, they kicked you even harder. Like, it was not right sometimes, for sure, right? But I think nowadays, and I've still, played a little bit on the side, but the respect is starting to get missing from the younger players, unfortunately. And it was, again, a bit too much from the older players back then, and maybe not enough nowadays from the older players. So that's, it's a different thing. And you probably haven't been through that, because you came from America and like a complete different situation. But that's also a difference I see right now. And then we go back to, again, like respect, humbleness, discipline, everything. And as a young player, I think it's, yes, on the field, do the best you can, right? And in certain situations, you don't have to have respect, right? But in some situations, you have to have respect. It's just
in a team situation, it's always going to be hierarchical. And I think young players do need to realize that. You have to have respect
for older players. Yep. They've been through much more.
Right.
They've
where they've played, what they've done,
They've gone through certain things, and especially after the training, you always have to have respect for the age. It's not just on the soccer pitch. It's also when I sit in the bus and I see an old man standing there and I see a young person sitting there, I cannot understand how this young person doesn't get up. Like, I still get up when there's an older person, because it's just, they have more knowledge than I do, 100%. Exactly. Everybody, and I love to talk to old people because they're so wise.
Right.
They've been through, you always think you know everything. Like right now, we probably think we know everything, even though we know we don't know everything, right? But then you talk to someone older that's, I have someone here in the neighborhood that is 91, right? There's a thing that's called life experience. Yeah. You cannot learn, you cannot read it in a book. You have to go through it in order to understand it. And the older you get, you realize that's actually a thing, right? And because when you're younger, you're like, oh, what are my parents saying and all of this, and I know better than them. And at some point you realize, maybe there's
you may know some things better, but
maybe 100% you know some things better. But there's some things that just they have been going through that will teach you lessons that you haven't gone through, and it's possible for you to have knowledge of 60 years when you've only been around for 30 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah.
There's one thing you said about kind of young players coming in, you have nothing to say. There's so much truth to that. It just made me think about this as well as a kind of message to American players, especially when they come over, is that a lot of the times you're looked at as a scapegoat. So a lot of the times you're seen as, especially when you first enter Germany, or maybe in other countries as well, you're seen as the guy who doesn't understand because you're from America. You're seen as the guy who maybe it's your fault even when it's not. And I think I've seen players go through that, and it takes over them, and then they can't handle it, and then they end up leaving. And I think people, especially like young players who are going into the first team for the first time or going into men's football, Americans coming over into a different environment, you have to kind of just accept those things, kind of write them off, maybe take them with a grain of salt at times, because obviously coming over here, you have so much to learn, but not to let it inherently affect you that much where it's taking over you. People telling you you're shit, or people telling you don't know anything, or this was your fault.
Yeah.
Take in more maybe what you could do better, but also don't let it take over you where it's felt like, oh, what he says is Bible.
Yeah. It's mentality. And mentality is so important. Like, and you realize it more and more how important the mental game is. And it separates so many players from becoming professional or not professional. And I think when I look back, I think that's the main reason for me also why I didn't become professional, because my mental game wasn't as good as it has to be. And that doesn't mean that I was a good enough soccer player to do it, because it's just as important as your ability to play. Yeah. And so many players afterwards say, oh yeah, I was also really good and had this and that, and yeah, but mentally it's part of the game.
Right.
And
it's part of being a great player.
And if you can't overcome these things, right? And life is not fair sometimes. And if there is a guy and you in Germany in your team and you come from America and he doesn't treat you fairly, there is not always a fair treatment. It's just life. It's impossible. You can't do anything about it, and you have to overcome all these things. And afterwards, you cannot say that but I should have been and I could have been, and just because he said this and he said this, okay, it happened. Yes, it was not fair, but you still have to make the best out of your situation. And then we come back to the things that what can you control and what can you not control.
Exactly.
You cannot control what he says to you.
Yeah.
We cannot control how he treats you. We cannot control how a coach, if he puts you on the field, if he believes in you, and what position he puts you in, right? But what you can control is how you deal with certain situations, with every situation. And the people that go all the way to the top, they're able to deal with the situations they were into. Mm-hmm. They were able to deal with sitting on the bench at some point, maybe, or playing in the wrong position, or having a coach at some point that didn't believe in them, right? And there's some players, they don't get up when they're 18, they get up when they're 23.
Right.
And maybe more players would have made it when they were 23, but they gave up at the age of 20. I could say the same thing. I gave up when I was 20 to go to America, right? I have no idea if I would have made it. I don't know if I would have been good enough. Yeah. I will never find out. It's okay. I accept it, right? But yeah, you have to overcome all these obstacles and be mentally strong. And I think we're going into the right direction, because nowadays more and more people talk about this topic. There are more mental coaches. There are more help with it, right? Back in the day, we didn't have that, and I hope it continues like that, and I think it will. I'm very sure it will continue like that, because it will be very helpful for everything in life. Because sometimes some people struggle with these things, and it's okay. It is what it is, right? Some people are not mentally that strong, and it's not a weakness. It's just how they are and there are so many things that play into that equation, with how they grew up, and the parents, and what I've been through in life. And when someone can't deal with sitting on the bench, doesn't mean he's a weak person or something like this. And when you have someone that's a mental coach, knows where this comes from, he can help this person, and then you can overcome all these things. I'm 100% sure that every single person in the world should have or could have a mental coach, because everybody could be helped. And I could be helped 100%. Someone could, if someone talks to me and finds out my weaknesses or my problems, my situations, and can help me in those situations, because every single one has situations. We look nowadays on Instagram and all these things, and everything really seems so perfect, right? And when we post this, and they seem they do a cool podcast, and they sit in a cool house, and next to Berlin and all of that, and they say, I wish I would have that, blah 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 blah. But we still have our things, right? It's still not everything is perfect. I don't get up every morning and I'm motivated and say, great, I'm going to do my workout today, and I really want to eat well today, and I really want to work and do the things I have to do. No, it doesn't work like that. And you can always adjust it and try to make the best of it. But we will always continue to learn 100%, and we will always have things to deal with. It will be the case until I die. I'm 100% sure. Yeah, I think it's normal.
It's a given.
But at the end of the day, it's just how do you deal with it? How do you accept these things as well?
The Layover hoodie is out now. Select size is still available on our website, footwork.club/shop, or follow any link in our bios. It will be the best hoodie you own. We personally guarantee it.
Reflecting on the journey right now, why have you had the success you've had already, and why are you still going?
So for the second time, again, like, success can be defined, and it's hard to define it, right? And I think it's always important to be happy with yourself and to define success for yourself, right? There will be some people that say I was successful, and there will be some people that say I was not successful, and that's okay. right? As long as I'm happy with my journey, then that's all that matters at the end of the day. And I am very happy with my journey so far. And we talked about it before. Most of my credit goes to other people. It's not me. It's my parents that gave me birth, that even made it possible for me to be here, and then that gave me all the possibilities that were there, and that let me go through all the doors that opened up. Sometimes you are not that lucky that, sometimes a door opens up for you and you don't have the right people around you, that they don't let you go through that door, or they put a lot of bricks in front of this door to make it really hard to go through it. And luckily I had people around me that always let me pursue whatever I wanted to pursue, and gave me a lot of energy and strength. And then, with meeting the right people along the way, with Herbert I do this company with, it's a blessing. I'm incredibly thankful for it. And what I also said before, it's like you attract the people what you kind of spread out into the world, right? And you asked me, like, what did I do for my success, or why am I so successful? Again, like for myself, I think that, and I hope I took the right lessons from everybody that tried to teach me something, from the coaches, from my parents, giving me the right values, and trying to give it back, and trying to be the best version of myself, and trying to help other people, and just be a good person at the end of the day. Because when you're a good person, you attract other good people around you. I'm 100% convinced of it. So yes, it's luck to a certain extent sometimes, that also you guys met, right? It's luck, but you also attracted each other because you're good people, right? And I think it goes same for me. So I hope I'm a good person, and that I was able to attract other good people around me, and then just try to pursue it, and then make decisions, be consistent, be disciplined, be humble. I think those are the main things you have to strive for. I try to do it. Others have to judge how good I am doing it. For myself, I'm happy. It can always be better. I've not been perfect. I've made my mistakes. But I try to, and I think I'm pretty good at it, to just be happy with myself and my journey. And the older I get, the more I come to peace with myself and all the good things I did, but also the bad things I did. And none of us did always good things. Like we all did our mistakes, and maybe we did a wrong decision or something like that. But at the end of the day, we have to come to peace with it, and try to learn from all these things we did in the past, and try to make the best of it. That's all that matters at the end of the day.
Well said. I think we're going to head into some of the fast feet, our quick fire questions to end off. First one, favorite player growing up?
Zidane.
Favorite moment in football?
I mean, overall, where I was not on the field, 2014, the World Cup win for Germany.
That's fair, yeah.
For me personally, on the field, it's a tough one. I had the coolest one. I lost that game 6-0, to be honest, but playing in a big stadium in the cup final against Hofstra FC, the stadium was sold out, and it was just a cool experience. That's where you always wanted to play as a young kid, and you couldn't hear the other players from you, and you couldn't hear the coach that gives you instruction. So that was very special, even though we lost that game, and it was pretty cool to play in really that crazy environment.
Right.
Winning the cup in Australia was a cool thing, because it was the first cup in the club history. So it was definitely a very cool thing. My last game I had in my career with Dresden, when we went up to the 6th league. I know it wasn't the level anymore that I used to play, but a promotion is a promotion, and when you're on the field, you want to win. And it was just like an incredible ending for my career, if I want to call it that. My family was there, so it was also a pretty cool thing, and I had lots of good moments also at Hofstra when we went to go to the next round, and like the now what's it called, the conference finals and stuff, and we won the penalties and things like that. That was pretty cool. DFB-Pokal in the youth against Freiburg in the semi-final against Christian Streich, the coach there. It's pretty cool. We lost in overtime, unfortunately, but yeah, so many cool moments in soccer, which I'm incredibly thankful for. Yeah, and also thankful for the 2014 team that gave us the World Cup from Germany.
Are they going to do it this year?
We'll see. It's a tough one,
Euros,
but yeah, with Kroos now ending his career would be also a cool thing. I would be happy for this guy too, to win it and then to kind of leave as the king, and then I can also say I played
brings
against
up your street cred. It brings up your street cred.
How about most difficult moment in football?
Most difficult moment in football. I think it was the time frame, my first men's year, when I had the 3 muscle injuries where I was always out for 6 weeks in the first half of the season. It happened to me twice. And you know how it is, you miss so many games, it takes time for you to come back. And it was that year where now it actually matters. It's not youth football anymore. Now it's now you sign the contract, now you go into professional football. Now you hope everything goes right, and then you have to overcome obstacles that you just haven't thought about. You know, you thought I'm not getting injured, and then you always get this injury, and then second half of the season in the preseason again, you had it again, another 6 weeks, and then the season is almost over. And that's when it was the pretty low point for me in my career, and that's when I decided to go to America. Right, so sometimes those things they open up doors for you that at the end of the day becomes something good, and yeah, so it's also a metaphor or something. Just a lesson for life that don't give up in these moments, because there's always something coming along the way, and you don't expect it, but maybe sometimes it could be even better than what you actually wanted to pursue. Yeah.
We know who you're the best player you played against, Toni Kroos, the man. Best player you played with?
Best player I played with? I would say the best, most famous now is Niels Petersen. He played for Freiburg, most goals in the history. I've trained with him a few times in Jena. That was nice. There was one player, I think he had the most potential out of everybody. Nobody will probably know him. His name is Patrick Amrein. I think whoever watches this now from back in the day that played with me will probably laugh a little bit now, because he was a crazy character. But he had everything you needed to, everything. He was tall, strong, right foot, amazing. He was fast. He had a good technique. He was a good midfielder. Was passing was great. Everything. When he was young, the first time we trained with the first team, I was with him. It was me and him from the under-19s that went up, and we were second Bundesliga. And he was with the other team, and I was against him, right, in the team, in the game, in the scrimmage, in training. And they won 3-1, and he scored all 3 goals. It was his first session with the second Bundesliga team, with the first team there. And he had all the potential. And for the past 10 years, I think he plays in the Kreisliga and scores 50 goals per season. So it's also I haven't talked to him. I don't know how he is, and I hope he also found his peace, and he's happy with himself and everything. But it's also a lesson for young players. It's no matter how much talent you have and how good you are, you have to be consistent, and you have to stay disciplined. And then some people or some other players can overtake you. And I'm sure he had moments where he thought, "Oh, how can this guy play in the first league and I don't?" Because 100% he had more talent than a lot of them. But yeah, you have to stick to it. Your mind has to be there.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of it. Yeah.
How about best advice you ever received?
Best advice I received from a person that's not in soccer was I don't know if he still remembers me. It was in Cyprus, and he so my deal over there was I was allowed to eat at the hotel over there, right? Because they were kind of a sponsor from our club. And so he was running the hotel. And he said to me, whenever you decide to be excellent, you will become excellent. So I think
That's nice.
Whenever you decide in life you want to become something, you want to hit it off. There's also one thing that one saying I like to say is one day or day one, and I think it goes along if you put them together. Whenever this day one is, and whatever you want to do with being excellent, and it could be small steps, it could be just eating healthier, working out more, taking this to the next step, like just becoming the best version of yourself. I think there's a lot behind it, and I think overall this is the one that came to my mind first. Obviously there were a lot more great advices I got from coaches, but yeah, this was
It's a nice one. I
was
like
the
that.
one that stick to me.
Yeah.
And I am pretty sure this guy probably doesn't even remember because I didn't talk to him too much. But yeah, I don't remember his name either. But thank you for that.
Remember the advice.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Favorite book?
Favorite book. So I read the book from Niels Pedersen. He wrote one because I know him, and that gives me a different understanding of it than others maybe, because I was part in a short time for his career.
Right.
So that was pretty cool. Other than that, the financial advice. Oh, was the Rich Dad Poor Dad?
Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. Yeah, was also
a
a book
classic.
that one of the first books I read, which was pretty cool. And then Kaffee am Rande der Welt was also a pretty good one.
That's also good. I know that one. I haven't read it, but
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. But yeah, I would say Niels Pedersen because I have a connection to it too, and
Yeah.
it was for me personally.
Yeah.
Pretty
Favorite place you've lived?
That's a really tough question. Really, really hard.
Combination.
It's always a combination. I think Australia, Brisbane, that was a crazy good lifestyle. I was on my scooter every day, going to training, going to work. Beaches were around the corner. The water was crystal clear, turquoise. Beaches were white sand. The people were nice. That was definitely an amazing place to live. Obviously, New York, crazy place. LA, amazing too. Berlin, amazing. But I think the beach does it for me. The beach is it's a game changer. Yeah.
And the last one, any quote or mantra that you live by?
Quote or mantra? What do you mean by that?
Any quote or mantra that you live by? So some.
Honestly,
I mean,
like
to
day
be honest,
one day or day
day
one
one
is like a
is
mantra.
kind of.
It's a quote, it's a mantra. It's kind of how you may approach life.
I don't have like a thing like up on my wall or something I think about every day. I think there's a few coming to my mind. Trying to be the best version of yourself and be a good person. So these are definitely things I try to do and try to be. Yeah.
Chris, we want to thank you so much inviting us into your old but new home.
Yeah.
We enjoyed the conversation today. We can't wait to see what the future holds for yourself, for Warubi, for our collaborations together. And like we said, part 2 is going to have to be on a beach in Mexico.
100%.
Think so.
I thank you guys for coming all the way out here. It's not the closest way from Hamburg you came.
Yeah.
And to drive here starting at probably 6-7 a.m. Coming all the way out here. So keep pushing, keep believing.
Sir.
You guys are on a good way. And as I said before, like honestly, not because it's on camera or something like that, but I wish you all the best. You're good guys, and I hope people that watch it they can see it. You have a lot of knowledge and a lot of unique knowledge, and I hope the people that watch it and will watch it understand it and give credit and value to it.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.